getting us over the
That's a good
television.
Sorry.
Not only have they been getting us over the television all these years, but now they're going to get us on the internet too.
Oh,
Wow.
gotcha.
Okay, cool.
Thought it was a creative advertising campaign.
It was
at
really.
least.
Yeah. See, I'm out there on dial-up. I don't actually. I can't. But that's going to change.
I guess that's one of the benefits of being on a college campus. I do get
Mm.
free public internet.
That's nice. That's nice. I'm remote where I am at the moment. I'm remote enough that I can't get anything. Nobody will come out there.
One radio station.
Mm. And you wouldn't, I don't know. It's crazy. But that, that's what I live on a dead end street, and nobody will go out there. So I'm living in the Stone Ages a little bit. I'm sorry. But anyway, something interesting in there?
I didn't mean to draw your attention.
Oh, okay.
I was just arranging things for later reference.
Okay, I'm sorry.
If you want, I'll cover it quickly.
But well, you can if you want. I just
The,
thought you were gonna.
Today, the New Hampshire House of Representatives rejected a proposed ballot initiative to define marriage as a union between one man and one woman. So,
Okay.
let's see, House members voted against the initiative by a margin of 201 to 135 this afternoon. Supporters needed votes of 60% of the House members to get the initiative on the ballot.
Okay. Well, that's.
If in New Hampshire, if the initiative had ended up on the ballot, it would have needed 2/3 of the voters to pass it. And as we've seen in most states, it's a 48-52 split, one way or the other.
It's pretty close, yeah.
But so, congratulations, New Hampshire, on getting one step closer to equality for your citizens.
Yeah, anyway.
Actually, I've read a news article from France recently. Did you hear about this?
No.
France has ruled to no longer classify transsexuality as a psychological disorder.
Oh, cool.
And they have become the first country in the world to do that. I have a student who is visiting from France. So he sent me the article in kind of a Go France moment.
Yeah, good.
But
That's great.
yeah, they've become the first country to no longer classify it
Wow.
in that way.
We actually do have news along those lines.
Yes.
The American Psychiatric Association, the APA, the folks who put out the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual, the DSM, have currently at version 4 have opened up. They've had working groups and committees working on suggested changes to the DSM for Release 5. And they recently posted those changes and opened them up for professional and public comment. And the change that they're suggesting several changes to the DSM in regards to gender identity disorder. One of the changes they're suggesting is, at least for youth and adolescents, they haven't decided if they're going to do it for adults or not, but is to change the name from gender identity disorder to gender incongruity, to try and lessen the stigma of you suffering from a disorder.
That is really fascinating. I literally just within the past 24 hours had this discussion in my class, because we do a debate over whether or not GID should be classified in the DSM, and they read the diagnostic criteria from the 4th edition, and I had just finished telling them that I think the 5th edition is coming out in 2013. And I had just finished telling them, this is a very important issue right now, because they're deciding these things right now.
Well,
I'll be happy to go back to them and report that.
The Transgender Working Group had made their submissions. All the proposed changes are, I believe, on dsm5.org. So dsm5.org, I think, is the website, and you can review the changes. They've dramatically changed the criteria for gender incongruity to. There was a heavy focus previously, and if you've reviewed it, you're going to remember it better than I am.
I've just read it recently.
On being totally dissatisfied with yourself and wanting to be completely opposite. And
they do make it a very binary.
Very binary
idea.
and very heavily focused on your sex. they've removed sex and replaced it with gender pretty much throughout. And they've, in high terms here, you'll get to read the details if you look at it, but they've taken sex out to replace it with gender, and they've reworked it so it has to do more with your gender expression and your perceived gender identity.
Oh, that's
being
really interesting.
Incongruous, rather than you want to be on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. In part because they found, obviously, when you have gender nonconforming, genderqueer folks, they don't want to be on the opposite side of the spectrum.
Right.
Yeah.
And on the issue of sex, they had an actual sort of technical legal hiccup that nobody seemed to realize. So when you have someone who's intersex with something like Klinefelter syndrome, who's XXY, they don't actually legally qualify as male or female under that definition to want to be the opposite.
And that's actually one of I think there's something like 4 diagnostic criteria, and one of the criteria is exclusionary if you have an intersex condition.
Right.
It excludes you from the diagnosis.
Right, which means that if you're intersexed and at birth the doctors chopped off whatever you had and you were put on hormones at birth and you were raised as female,
You are out of luck.
and you have a male psyche, a male gender identity, you can't qualify.
Yeah, they have some kind of separate diagnosis for it.
Well, I think there's...
It's a not otherwise specified
right.
diagnosis.
There's almost every category has a not otherwise specified for that kind of thing. And there was... I forget, there was one other thing that people wanted to see. Oh no, that had to do with internet addiction. Yes.
Side note.
Side note, sorry.
Yeah.
They, okay, tangent. What they're talking about doing is taking away the abuse category of substance abuse and making them all addiction, because they have a hard time defining where the lines are between normal, abuse, and addiction. And what they're basically saying is, if you're abusing it,
There's
it's
a reason.
due to an addiction. It may be a mild addiction. They've added severities, but it's all addiction now. They've added sex addiction and gambling addiction. They didn't think there was enough evidence for internet addiction, so they're putting it in an appendix for further review. So that's the tangent.
Interesting.
But yeah, as far as the gender identity stuff goes, and this is where it bears on the France ruling. It's a double-edged sword, because if it's not in the diagnostic manual, then there's no ICD codes for billing.
Right. And it takes away kind of all the issues of legal status and things like that. If it's not classified, then
Yeah. There's an issue on the legitimate medical side that says, well, we can't change your brain chemistry, but we can help you align your body image. That alignment is a medical response to a diagnosis. If you take it out of the DSM and you don't have billing codes for it, how do you treat those medical conditions? So they don't want to take it out of the DSM, but they do want to change it so it doesn't have the stigma of a disease or a disorder. So they're looking at this gender incongruity label as
I think my students are going to be really happy that that's what they went with, because that's what every semester.
Not until 2013.
That's what they're thinking about at
Yes.
least. Every semester, that seems to be the happy alternative that they come up with.
Yeah.
They do this debate, and half of them have to argue for keeping it, and half of them have to argue for getting rid of it. And at the end of the class, everyone just says, well, can't we keep it and change its name? So I think they'll be happy that at least someone else had that idea too.
And it's actually pretty good, because not only do they show you the changes that they're going to make, but then on another tab, they give you an overview of their reasoning behind the changes. So it's not everything everybody wants, but it's a real good step.
It's a good start, yeah. It's something at least.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Well, yeah, it's progress. Every day we make progress.
Yeah.
Someday we'll be there. Anyway, Renee, you are just back from Montreal. So it was so nice that you could make it. I know that you're, pretty busy.
Busy.
With post-surgical care.
Post-surgical care, I know that's